Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Gracie Caps here. If you are stopping by for the first time, you're most definitely welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for always supporting your girl. So in today's video, I just want to show you guys how I do my full face look, foundation, contour, highlight before I do my brows. So I'm going to start by setting her face with my setting spray just to hydrate the skin, and then I'll use my blending brush to push it into the skin very well because I need it to sink in. I need the skin to absorb all the setting spray that I've applied, and then I'll allow it to dry before I go in with my next product. So now I am applying my moisturizer, and I'm using the same brush to apply it generously all over the face before the next product. So what I'm doing, I'm taking my time to apply this into the skin very well, and I'll allow it to dry for like 1 minute before I go in with the next product. That way it will the skin will absorb everything that is coming on it perfectly. Next, I'm going in with my second moisturizer after allowing the first one to dry. So and I'm applying this generously all over the face with the same brush, all over the face, including under the eye, because you need under the eye to be soft as well, to be hydrated as well. So I'm taking my time to just do this, blend everything into the skin and allow it. You can use your hand at this point. If your hand is clean enough, you can use to blend your moisturizer, your primers into the skin. Then I'm going in with my next. This is my first primer after my moisturizer, and I'm going in directly all over the face as well. If you notice, I apply my primers all over the face, but I avoided underneath the eye because underneath the eyes only need moisturizer, no primer. So avoid applying primers under the eye. So I'm going to allow it to dry as well before I go in with my last primer. You can see I'm touching the face to know if it's dry enough for me to apply the next primer, and this primer is very mattifying. That's why I had to just check very well. So I'm going to still apply it generously everywhere before I go in with my foundation. I'll also allow it to dry. If you don't have a small fan, you can just let it be for 1 minute to dry. But if you have a small fan, you can use a small fan, or you can face the fan and you dry in 1 minute for you to go in for the next product. So that's it. And then I'm going in with my foundation. I've actually mixed her foundation shade, and I'm applying it with my brush first before I'll go in with my beauty blender. So I'm just going to dab all over the face generously. So when applying your foundation, don't jump. Apply it generously from one end to the other end. Don't apply on the left and jump to the right. Make sure everywhere is covered before you go over to the next stage of your makeup application. So I'm going to hydrate it again with my dewy setting spray so that the foundation would sink into the skin. And after I have waited for 1 minute, I am going in with my contour, and I'm going in with one shade darker than the foundation I used to contour her face, because I don't want the contour looking too dark on her. Yeah, even if you're doing contour on a person or on yourself, because it's contour doesn't mean that it has to be so much so dark on your skin. No, it has to be like one color. It should just be one shade lighter than the shade of your foundation. That way it's going to look perfect. It's going to look more natural, though it's going to also show that there is contour on your face by the time you add your blush on it as well. So I'm using my brush to apply it first, then I'll go in with my beauty blender, and I'm using the clean side of my beauty blender to blend it into the skin very well. So you can see the way I'm pushing it into the skin with a light hand, but with a steady hand as well. Next thing I'm going to do is my blush application. So I'm using my brush to tap it where I want it to appear before I start blending it into the skin with my beauty blender. So I'm going to just blend it generously so that there will not be any demarcation between my blush and my contour. I'm not supposed to see where my contour stops and where my blush stops, so I'm blending everything into each other so that there will not be demarcation. That is how it should be. So you don't have to be in a hurry, you just have to take your time to blend your product into the skin very well so that it comes out perfectly, because it's very important that you blend your product very well. It's only when you blend them very well into the skin and into each other that you will get a good result. So guys, this is actually my new YouTube account. The old one, I lost the first YouTube account because I was robbed and I lost my phones and other things in process. So I couldn't access my mail and I lost the old account, which is Gracie Caps. So this is my new account, Gracie Caps Corner. The Gracie Caps Corner is actually my new account. That's it, guys. So the next thing I'm going to do is to apply my concealer. So I'm starting from underneath the jaw. I always start most times apply and blend because this concealer dries faster. So if I apply everywhere where I want to highlight before I blend it, before I'll get to all the other spots or some other part, it must have dried. So I always apply and blend it out to be on a safer side. Yeah, so that's why I'm applying and blending it out. So this is like one shade or two lighter than the foundation that I used on her. So I'll blend after applying, I'll blend after applying, I'll blend. Please excuse her. We're actually gisting something so interesting. It was supposed to be the voice of this makeup look, but it was interrupted several times, so I had to just take it out and do a voiceover. So that's the reason why you see she's laughing and all, because what we're talking about is actually very interesting. So but I think we're going to do that in my subsequent video. So but just excuse her laughing and everything, please. So like I was saying, I lost my first account, which is Gracie Caps, which I have over 200 subscriber and other videos. So I had to create a new one because I could not access the mail that I used in opening that account because I was robbed and the phone was taken from me. So please, if you are viewing this, please help me watch till the end, and also subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed, because it's very important for me that you guys subscribe to my channel, share, like everything. Just please help me out to make this video go viral for people to actually see it. So I am taking my time to blend everything the way it should be before I will bake it. So I also like to blend underneath, like on top of the mouth, with my concealer, because I would like to highlight those parts as well. So I'm not actually in a hurry doing this. I'm taking my time to blend it because the way you blend it will determine how it's going to come out. Like I have said before, the next thing I'm doing right now, I'm actually contouring her nose with a foundation that is a bit darker than the foundation that I used on her earlier. So this is just like, I think one shade or so darker than the foundation that I used on her. So I'm using this to contour her nose with my flat brush, and then I'll go back in and use my beauty blender to blend it into the skin so that there will not be harsh line. demarcating the products from each other. After blending with the brush, the next thing I'm going to go in and dab it into the skin, like I said earlier, with my beauty blender. And then I am setting rather. This step is called setting. So I'm setting the highlighter areas with my powder first. I'm using my beauty blender to take the powder. You can use a smaller flat fluffy brush if you have, but for this video I am using my beauty blender to take the powder, and then I will just use it to apply everywhere that I highlighted underneath the eye. So I'm using a powder shade of my choice, which is very close to her skin tone. I don't want the highlighter area looking brighter, way brighter than the rest of the face that I applied foundation. So I'm just going to go in with this shade of powder, and I always like to tone it down with my shade of powder because I'm going to still bake it with my setting powder. So by the time the setting powder comes on it, it's going to brighten more than this. So I go in with powder that is exactly that shade of the highlight most times, and then I'm going to powder the rest of her face, including the part I contoured and the blush and everywhere, so that just to dry it and then proceed to the next step. So I'm using my fluffy brush to just do this, and I am blending everywhere, even on top of the highlighted places. I am getting to the highlighted places because the powder I'm using is not really that dark. Yeah, but if you know the person's face is darker than the highlighted places, way darker, the powder you're using is dark, please avoid the highlighted places. Yeah, but make sure you blend the edges so that it doesn't look separated from the rest of the skin. Yeah, so I'm taking my time to just blend the powder into the skin everywhere that I applied the product is where I am going to put this powder. Yeah, so that's just what I am doing. The nose part, the brows, the eyelid, I blend my powder everywhere so that I'll dry the product that is there before I proceed to the next set. So you can see her neck region as well. I'm also applying the powder there because I don't want any part to look wet while the other part is looking dry. So I am topping the contour to make it look a little bit more visible because it looks like it was it was fading out too much. So, and I'm just going to do it with a little amount of powder. The next I'm going to do is to go in with my blush and just increase it as well because both of them were out. So
everything they under mama
yeah,
and this is
I need it to come back to life. I need the face to pop. So I'm just going to blend it in very well. Yes, so that's just what I am doing right now, and then I'm going to just go ahead and bake underneath the eye so that the product or the highlights can pop here. Not product, the highlights can pop. And then I am using that same setting powder, a little amount of it, to seal the contour line so that the contour can actually pop and it will not look the same with the rest of the face. At least when you seal the contour line, it gives it that elevation look, showing that even if the person doesn't have a high cheekbone, it's still going to show a little that this person, you contour the face. There is demarcation, there is separation between where the foundation stops and where the contour starts. Yeah, with the contour line, it just makes the contour visible to the eye. So I'm just going to bake everywhere underneath the eye, everywhere. I'm just going back in so that I get everything corrected before I continue. So also using a lighter shade of powder to dry the contour part of the nose so that it becomes visible as well. Yeah, you can do this, it's your choice. You can choose not to do it as well. Sometimes I don't do it, but in this case I want the nose contour to be visible, and I also snatched the nose with my setting powder, and then the smile line is what I am actually fixing now. Yeah, so I'm taking off the powder. I don't really allow the setting powder underneath the contour to stay for long so that it doesn't create a line. Yeah, so I'm going back with my powders and just blend everything out with a light hand. So this is important. Yeah, so that everything will look the same and there will not be any harsh line or demarcation between the colors on the face. And then now it's just to take off the setting powder that I used in baking underneath the eye. So I actually use some powder from my powder palette to help take off this powder, because I noticed that sometimes if you use a dry brush that doesn't have any product on it, it creates lines, especially when the person the under eye is not really very dry. So what I always do is, whether it's very dry or not, I always use another powder, sometime a certain powder, or just for my compact powder palette like this, to blend it out. Yeah, so this is basically how the full face look like. I am highlighting. Yeah, I'm going in with my bronzer before I set. So I like to use a smaller brush for this as well, so that I get exactly what I want. Like, I don't want my bronzer to spray too much, so I like to use my blending brush to apply my bronzer. Well, the choice is yours. Whatever brush you want to use, you can use it to apply your highlight. So if you notice, I used my powder brush as well to just go over the highlighter spots, so that I can just take off any excess or some particle that falls below the spots that I want it. So this is basically how I do my full face look before my eyebrow, eyeshadow and lip. So you can see I just set. This is how it looks. So guys, this is the end of this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.